A vibrant and diverse nation has an economy that's equally dynamic. The Indian economy is broadly classified into three main sectors: primary, secondary, and tertiary.
Scene 1. Primary sector. First, the primary sector, the backbone of India's economy, is rooted in the earth. It includes agriculture, where farmers cultivate crops and raise livestock, providing food and raw materials for the nation. More than 58% of the working population in India depends on the primary sector.
This sector involves the extraction and collection of natural resources such as agriculture, which includes farming, livestock and fisheries, mining, which includes coal, iron ore and diamonds, forestry, hunting and gathering. The primary sector is the foundation of economy, providing raw materials for further processing and production.
Secondary sector. Next, the secondary sector takes the raw materials from the primary sector and transforms them into finished goods. Manufacturing units produce textiles, automobiles, electronics and more, creating jobs and driving growth. Construction, a significant contributor, builds infrastructure, housing and commercial spaces, shaping India's urban landscape. Energy production, including thermal, solar and wind power, lights up homes and industries. About 28% of the India's population is engaged in the secondary activities.
This sector involves the processing and transformation of raw materials into goods through manufacturing, which includes textiles, automobiles and electronics. Construction, which includes infrastructure, development, real estate and energy production such as thermal, solar and wind. The secondary sector adds value to the raw materials extracted in the primary sector, creating goods for consumption and export.
Tertiary sector. Finally, the tertiary sector, the fastest growing segment, provides services that support the entire economy. Trade, both domestic and international, enables the exchange of goods. Transportation, including logistics, airlines and railways, moves goods and people. Finance, encompassing banking, insurance and investment, facilitates transactions and growth. Real estate, healthcare, education and tourism also thrive in this sector, making India a hub for services. In India, about 59% of the population depend upon the tertiary activities.
This sector provides services that support the primary and the secondary sectors, including trade, transportation, finance, real estate, education and tourism.
The tertiary sector drives economic growth by enabling the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. These three sectors are interconnected like the threads of a fabric. The primary sector provides raw materials, the secondary sector processes them, and the tertiary sector enables their distribution and consumption. Together, they form the vibrant tapestry of the Indian economy. These three sectors are essential for a robust and diversified economy like India's.
Now, let's see the next two sectors of the Indian economy, the public and the private sectors.
The public sector, also known as the government sector, plays a vital role in India's economy. It comprises government-owned enterprises, public undertakings and departments that provide essential services like defense, infrastructure development and social welfare programs. The main aim of public sector is welfare maximization. The public sector is responsible for providing basic services like electricity, water and sanitation. running public transportation systems. Some notable public sectors undertaking in India also include Indian Railways, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited (BPCL) and State Bank of India (SBI). The private sector, on the other hand, is driven by entrepreneurship, innovation and private motive. It comprises businesses and industries owned and operated by individuals, companies and corporations. The main aim of private sector is profit maximization. The private sector is responsible for driving economic growth through innovation and competition, creating employment opportunities, contributing to GDP and tax revenues, providing a wide range of goods and services, from consumer products to technology solutions, investing in research and development, leading to advancements in various industries. Some notable private sector companies in India include Tata Group, Reliance Industries Limited and Infosys Limited. Together, the public and private sectors form the backbone of India's economy, working in tandem to drive growth, development and prosperity.
India's economy is a vibrant tapestry woven from two main threads, the organized and the unorganized sectors.
I'm working in an organized sector. I was appointed according to the rules and regulations of the government. I don't have any strenuous work. I get my salary regularly and I'm entitled to all the allowances. This sector provides me with PF, bonus and pension. All the letter days in the calendar are paid holidays for me. I do get benefits like sick leave, casual leave and a maternity leave and I'm happy.
The organized sector, also known as the formal sector, is the structured and regulated part of the economy. It comprises businesses and enterprises that are legally registered, pay taxes and comply with labor laws and regulations. This sector includes large corporations and multinational companies, government-owned enterprises and public sector units.
On the other hand, the unorganized sector, also known as the informal sector, includes small-scale, unregistered and unregulated economic activities. This sector encompasses small-scale farmers and agricultural laborers, street vendors and hawkers, construction workers and laborers, small-scale industries and cottage industries, self-employed individuals and entrepreneurs.
I am working in an unorganized sector. The people who hired me don't have any rules and regulations. My job is not secure. I can be terminated at any point of time. My working hours are from 7 in the morning to 8 in the evening. I have no paid leaves. I don't have pensions or bonuses. I don't get paid for overtime working. My life is difficult.
While the organized sector provides stability and structure, the unorganized sector offers flexibility and adaptability. Both sectors are essential to India's economy and efforts are being made to formalize and regulate the unorganized sector to ensure better working conditions, social security and economic growth. These two sectors are intertwined with many workers moving between them throughout their lives. By understanding and addressing the unique challenges and opportunities in both sectors, India can promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth.
GDP, Gross Domestic Product. It is the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year, provides the total population of the sector for that year. GDP shows how big the economy is. In India, the mammoth task of measuring GDP is undertaken by a central government ministry. Now, let's see some visuals on gross domestic product.
the ingredients for our famous biscuits: flour, sugar, butter, and more. These raw materials will soon become a delicious treat.
And here is the final product, fresh from the oven, ready for consumption.
But have you ever thought about how our biscuit contributes to the bigger picture?
You mean the economy?
Of course, our factory provides employment and we pay taxes on our profits. Our factory's production and the value added at each stage contributes to the country's gross domestic product, GDP.
GDP? That's just a number, isn't it?
Not just a number. GDP measures the total value of goods and services produced within a country's borders. It's a snapshot of the economy's health. Your biscuits from raw materials to final product are a part of that story.
I see. So as your factories produces more biscuits, it increases the GDP.
That's right. The value added at each stage from raw materials to final product is counted towards the GDP. It is a testament to the economic activity and growth of the nation.
Fascinating. I never thought our humble biscuits played a role in something so big.
The counting of the value of commodity more than once is called double counting. This leads to overestimation of value of goods and services produced. Thus, the importance of avoiding double counting lies in avoiding overestimating the value of domestic product. Every industry, every product and every transaction contributes to the GDP. It is a reminder that our individual efforts are part of a larger narrative, the story of a nation's economic progress. Thank you.
In conclusion, the Indian economy is a vibrant and diverse entity comprising of the primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, as well as the organized and unorganized sectors. Each sector plays a vital role in driving economic growth, creating employment opportunities, and contributing to the country's gross domestic product, or the GDP. The primary sector provides the foundation, the secondary sector adds value through manufacturing and construction, and the tertiary sector enables the services that support the entire economy. Meanwhile, the organized sector provides structure and regulation, while the unorganized sector provides adaptability and flexibility. As India continues to evolve and grow, understanding and harnessing the strengths of each sector will be crucial in achieving sustainable and inclusive economic development, propelling the nation towards a bright future. Thank you.
We were discussing a chapter called Sectors of Indian Economy, and the title is Sectors of Indian Economy, and we saw how many sectors did you saw here? 3. So we'll just have primary, secondary and tertiary of the stage. Primary, secondary and tertiary, please come up. Primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. So these are the 3 sectors of Indian economy. Primary sector deals with agriculture, secondary sector deals with manufacturing and tertiary sector deals with what? Service related activities, and you saw that. You saw it here, isn't it? Primary, secondary and tertiary. Now, public sector and private sector. Please come on. There are 2 sectors in the economy. One is public sector and the other one is private sector. Public sector is owned and operated by the government, and private sector is owned and operated by private individuals. Okay, and what is the aim of public sector? The aim of public sector is to make welfare maximization. So what is the aim of private sector? Profit maximization. That is the difference between public sector and private sector. Now coming to organized and unorganized. Can I have those 2 characters? The first character, she was playing the role of a teacher, and she was explaining that she is very happy because she is appointed according to the rules and regulations of the government. The working time is very flexible, right from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. She is getting paid leave, she is getting overtime allowances, maternity leave, sick leave, casual leave. All the leaves are provided to her. All the red letter days in the calendar is a holiday for her, and she is immensely happy. But you noted the second person, she is really unhappy. What's the reason? She is working in unorganized sector. They doesn't follow any kind of terms and conditions of the government. Their life is very strenuous. The working time is not flexible. They have to work from morning 7 a.m. maybe till 9 p.m. in the evening. They don't get any kind of allowances, no benefits, no medical leave. At any point, they can be terminated from work. So their life is very strenuous. So the example that we have portrayed here is a domestic servant. Because their life is not at all comfortable and safe. Any time they may be terminated. No allowances from the government, no one to protect them. So there is a difference between organized and unorganized sector. I hope you got the examples also. Now coming to the last part, that is GDP. Now students of grade 12 are also here. Why are you here? There is an intention, because what these students are learning as theory will have to be solved as problems in your 12th grade. That's why I called you people also here. So it's regarding GDP calculation. So what is GDP? Gross Domestic Product. And how will you define it? The money value of all the final goods and services produced in the domestic territory of a country is called GDP. Okay, now here you saw they were showing something. Some things are kept over here. One biscuit is kept over here. What does it mean? What does it mean? See, these are all raw materials. What all things that you see here, they are all raw material. We have butter, we have sugar, flour, salt. All these are raw materials. Using these raw materials, we make the final product. What is the final product? The final product is biscuit. So here we are making a categorization. What is the categorization? This is a final good. Boys, can you see? This is a final good, and all these things that you see here are what? They are all the intermediate goods that we used for making this particular product. Okay, so can you categorize? What are intermediate goods? Intermediate goods are the raw materials that we use to make a final product. And what is a final good? Final good are those goods which ultimately reach a consumer. There is a difference between final good and intermediate good. But there is a small problem here. See, we need to add everything in the national income. What all things that we have as a final good need to be added where? In the national income. So what all things you have with you right now as a final good? See, I have a biscuit here. This mic is a final good. These bottles, these things are all final good. This pen is a final good. Your watch, your spectacles, all the things that you are having is what? A final good, because production process is over. Now what should be done with those final goods? That need to be added. Is it possible to add all these things? Just imagine. Is it possible to add everything that we make in our country? My question is to you. Is it possible to add? Your watch, all your watches, all your uniforms, all your books, everything in the economy, the fan, the infrastructure, can we add all these things? What is your answer? Yes or no? Your answer is no, but the answer is yes. What should be the answer? The answer is yes. It is possible. We can add everything which is manufactured in the economy, and who is behind it? It is the ministry. The ministry or our government is responsible for adding up. So whatever we make in 2023 is already added up. Whatever we are going to manufacture in 2024 will be added up. So whatever we make in the economy gets added to what? GDP of our country. But there is a problem here. What is the problem? When you add something, you should add only one thing. What is it? When you add something, please add only the final goods. Whatever is the final good, only add that. You should not add the value of sugar, oil, butter, chocolate, whatever is added again. The price of this packet is 60 rupee. This is the price of the final good, which is 60 rupee. If you are adding the value of sugar, oil, butter, whatever, the amount goes up to 180 or 120. Is that correct? What should be your answer? What should be your answer, students of grade 12? This is something that you have to do as a numerical when you are in grade 12. When you are adding this GDP, please add only what? What should we add? Only the final root. If you add again, that is known as double counting. When you go for double counting, what will happen to your national income? There will be error. There will be error in national income, and that will lead to double counting, and there will be problems in our national income. That's why the main thing that you should note is that when you are adding something, take only final good, deduct everything from the final, like price of wheat flour, price of oil, price of sugar, that has to be deducted. Why should we deduct? Because already the elements are included here. The price is included. That's why the price is 60 now. It includes the price of chocolate, it includes the price of butter, it includes the price of nuts, whatever we have used, get included. Okay, so this is the main point that you have to note related to GDP calculation. Do you understand? And what makes up our GDP? How many sectors are there? 3 sectors, primary, secondary and tertiary. And we all are. We all means myself. I am working in this sector. It is my sector. My sector is tertiary sector because I am a teacher. I am doing a service. And you saw one boy here acting as a farmer. He belongs to which sector? He belongs to primary sector. He is a farmer. So farmer goes to primary sector. A teacher goes to tertiary sector. What is the difference? A teacher is doing a service. What about doctor? Service. What about industrialist? Industrialist will move into which sector? Primary, secondary or tertiary? Secondary. Why? Because they are into manufacturing. So this is the difference between primary, secondary and tertiary. Is that clear? And as we are working there, I am contributing to GDP. Because I am a teacher, I need to contribute to my national income. So automatically that contribution goes to GDP also. So there are only 3 main sectors where we are all working. Primary, secondary and tertiary. That makes up the GDP. And definition wise, how do you define it? The money value of all the final goods. We are not talking about intermediate. All the final goods produced in the domestic territory. This is the domestic territory, India. Within a particular year, which is the year 2024. That is known as GDP. Okay, now during the colonial time or just after independence, the number of people depending on our primary sector was 85%. Now the number has decreased to 40%. Now we can see maximum number of people working with this sector. Tertiary sector. Majority of the people are finding their job in which sector? Tertiary sector. It's not, I'm talking about India. It's not in primary, it's not in secondary. We can see maximum number of people engaged in this sector. Tertiary sector. And there is a reason also. See, this tertiary sector can absorb skilled people and unskilled people, educated people and uneducated people. We know about a cobbler. Who is a cobbler? Cobbler is a person who mends the shoe, a person who repairs the shoe. He belongs to which sector? He is doing a service. A cobbler is doing a service. He belongs to which sector? Tertiary sector. And a doctor also belongs to what? Which sector? Tertiary sector. So tertiary sector can absorb skilled people and unskilled people. That means a cobbler also comes into that, a doctor also comes into that. Okay, it can absorb skilled people and unskilled people, educated and uneducated people. So this is the nutshell of the chapter, and we have almost completed the chapter 2. When we discussed all these 4 points, all the 4 scenes, we have actually completed the entire chapter. Now, is there any doubt for you people? Any doubts? Because what students of standard 10 are studying is actually theory. You need to write only theory. But what should you people do? Standard 12, you have to apply all these in numbers. All these things has to be applied in numbers. So what we discussed here also will come as a numerical question to you. Like what are the items to be included? You will get so many items. And there should be a proper calculation. Otherwise what will happen? You will be losing your 6 mark. Because that question carries 6 mark, and if you are not doing it very carefully, you will lose your 6 mark. That's why I wanted you also here. So hope children, you understood everything. Do you have any doubts related to the chapter? What's the name of the chapter? Sectors of the Indian economy. How many sectors came first? Primary, secondary, tertiary based on employment. Then second one came public sector and private sector. The last one was organized and unorganized. Now, in unorganized sector, government rules are strictly followed. But in organized sector, government rules are strictly followed, and in unorganized sector, nobody is there to monitor. Nobody is there. So, any kind of atrocities can happen to the workers working in unorganized sector. That's why all your teachers are telling you to study, or your parents are telling every day, go on, study, isn't it? Your teachers are also telling the same thing, your parents are also telling the same thing. Otherwise, what will happen to you people? One day, instead of working in organized sector, you will have to find your job in unorganized. Will it be good? No. You won't get regular salary. You will have to work as strenuous. That means the work will be very hectic. You have to report for your job by 7 a.m. and you will leave your work only by 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. That much hours you have to be in the unorganized sector, working hardly, and for your hard work, payment won't be given. And even Sundays you have to work. In Saturdays you have to work. If there is a holiday also you have to work. That's why your parents and teachers are always demanding for one thing. What is it? Study well. So we are winding up, and I appreciate the efforts taken by all my students of 10B. They did it very well, and I would also like to express my sincere thanks to Arish, who is a master brain behind the entire scene. So once again, thanking everyone.